Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode number 199. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction hypnotist and #1 best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction, Align Yourself with the Manifesting Conditions and Successfully Attract Your Desires. And I'm also the founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores today. And I'm here again with my co-host, comedy hypnotist, Jim Kellner. Hey, Jim.
Hey, it worked, everybody. Your 1-800-KEEP-JIM. It worked, at least for one more week.
One more week at least. So tell us a little bit, just your background and how people, can, feel confident about, who you are, what you do.
Well, I'm a swell fella. That's my claim to fame.
Yes.
So, hey, I've been a professional hypnotist for about 12 years now. I do comedy, stage hypnosis, and hypnotherapy. And, I've got some public shows coming up soon. So, keep an eye out for that. I'm also an author. I just finished. Your audience is going to know the title before anyone else does. I just sent the manuscript off to the editor, my very first solo book. And, so as I said, I've got the book cover even done, or the first draft. I haven't told anybody the title yet publicly. So get ready. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Are you ready? Power of Your Mind listeners, powerful manifestors.
Your life sucks. Here's why and how to fix it.
Wow.
That's the title.
Wow.
There's the cover. I'm super excited. I just got that in today.
Oh, that is amazing. I love it. For the listeners out there, it says the guy is holding a stop sign, and that is a very powerful cover. I think that's going to stop people in their tracks and get them to listen. And I love it. Your life sucks, and here's what you can do about it.
Yeah.
Here's why, and here's what.
And I'm an expert because my life used to suck. So I know what it's like, really, truly.
I think we've all been there. I think all of us have experienced, times when our lives have sucked,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think a lot of people can relate to that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So, well, today, just to dive right in, today we're talking about visualization, and I want to talk about some steps that you can take to, to help you to visualize. And Jim, do you visualize? Is that a tool that you can get behind, or that you talk to your clients about it all? Or
Well, in hypnotherapy, actually it's an NLP technique. We use future pacing, and almost probably every one of my hypnotherapy clients gets a bit of future pacing. And that's just sort of kind of imagining yourself in the future, as you know. But for the listeners, imagining yourself, if you want to, quit smoking, that's you in the future as a non-smoker. What's your life like now? So yeah, I didn't use it much for myself, but it was about 6 months ago. I was doing it on and off, and then about 6 months ago, I actually put it on my goal list. I use Habit Tracker, and I put it on there, visualize. And so now what I started doing is on my watch, I use Insight Timer for my meditation. So do I.
We need to be friends on Insight Timer.
Awesome. I don't know how any of that works. So yeah, I just do the timer thing. I can't even change my name on there. I don't know why. I'm user 97854 something. I tried changing my name, and it reverts back to user number whatever. Anyway, sorry. So what I do is what I started doing was doing like habit linking. So I do my meditation. I set a timer for 20 minutes on my watch. I put a 25-minute timer. So the meditation ends and then I know go right into the kind of visualizing.
Ooh, and you called that habit linking?
Oh yeah. So there was a book a while back that called it, I can't remember, if it was linking or stacking, and then Atomic Habits with James
Yeah.
Clear.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about it's one or the other. It's either habit stacking or habit linking. It's the same thing as just linking a habit to another habit. So it's easier to adopt.
Yeah, I like that. And I've been setting actually, it's interesting you say that. I've been setting a timer for myself to remember to visualize, because as we talked about last week, visualizing is part of my desire and intention and gratitude statement, is to visualize my ideal result. Um, what is it, 5 minutes 2 times a day, so 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening. And it absolutely, it's just one of those things. It's a habit that you've got to get into.
Yeah. It's funny because, and I'd heard this before, but it finally made sense to me. Like if you look around, there is no human made thing that was not created by thought first, right? I mean, every single my AirPod, every single thing that we see around us was created. Somebody had a thought first. So why would our lives be any different?
It's 100% true. I talk about that during my, it's like one of the things I actually talk about at one of the openings of my workshops is like every single thing that you see around you, the chair that you're sitting in, every book that was written. I mean, like, think about every single book. I mean, there's millions, billions of books out there that have been
Yeah.
written. And somebody actually, they got the idea in their head. They had to have visualized themselves at some point. I mean, the light bulb, all of these lights in this office, all of the that sculpture back there, the little, plants. I mean, somebody decided, I'm going to start a business. And
Right.
think about all of the businesses that you pass by, all the cars, all the different makes and models of cars, the food, every single different type of food that is sitting in your cabinet. Somebody had an idea. I'm going to make that
Yeah.
kind of food. I'm going to make a brand. The clothes that you're wearing, the
Right.
jewelry. I mean, every single thing. It just started off as an idea. And it started off as, being able to tap into the power of your imagination through visualization. So it is, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Well, I was just thinking, I think I read your book about 6 months ago. I probably got it from you. It's probably in here, isn't it? I had this
Maybe.
spontaneous idea when I was reading your book.
But that happens. That happens. I think as you look, like, I hear things too, and I don't know where I heard them from. Maybe I heard it from
Yeah.
Tony Robbins one day,
Mhm.
or maybe I heard it from Joe
Right.
Dispenza or Deepak Chopra or whatever. Because we read a lot of these inspirational types of books, and and it's like they just these ideas, these sayings, they just kind of they get into your brain, and it's like, I don't even know who said that. Somebody probably said it, at some point. But it is, it's a great concept though, to really ground you and to inspire you and to realize that, like, you know, what if the ideas that you're sitting on right now, that book that you're thinking about writing, that business that you're thinking about creating, that clothing line that you're thinking about, whatever it is, that's something that could turn into a reality. And each and every one of us have the ability. Um, None of us are less special or less unique or less able to create something than anybody else, any other inventor.
So true. So true.
So we're gonna, talk about the 5 steps of visualization. And so the very first step, I believe is, it's about getting clear on a specific idea.
Great.
So,
I,
when, and when you start off the process of visualizing, sometimes it can be a little hard to really like bring it down to like one specific idea, because we have a lot of different goals that we want to achieve. And, so if like when you're visualizing and, if, you want this certain kind of life for yourself, I think it works better to like really just, go into your visualization for that day with a very clear, specific idea on what that is. And then, just like step two is really like going in to the scene and seeing what does that look like with you achieving that. What does that idea look like with you achieving that, with you in the scene already having that, like, and really the more detailed you can be about that, like, what does the sky look like? What are you wearing? Where are you, are there other people around in your scene? What are, some of the other objects that might be in your scene? And, really, really allowing yourself just to get a crystal clear image of exactly where you're going. Any questions so far?
no, that sounds really good. I think, so there's some areas that I do have a pretty good, I've got the image there. Can roll the
Mhm.
tape. Then some other areas are so blurry and foggy. And I will say that the things that are I think I just answered my own question. So the things that are clear are things that I've worked on longer.
Yeah, I that it's so true. Now, sometimes we can be like too specific. Like for those of you out there who are, say, wanting to manifest love, I just want to kind of put it out there because it's just popped into my head. And sometimes I think things pop into my head because there's somebody out there that needs to hear this. And so this popped into my head. So when before my husband and I got re-engaged, because there was a time we were engaged and then we got unengaged, and then then we moved to Florida, and we moved into two separate areas. And then I had made it my goal to get re-engaged. And so I kept visualizing, and I made this vision board of us, getting re-engaged. And then we broke up.
It
After.
worked like
So
magic.
you would think like I would just have just, given up on this whole idea.
Yeah.
So this happened in, let's see, January of 2007. It was January 2007 is when I made that whole goal. And then we broke up in March of 2007.
Wow.
And so what I ended up doing was I just like let him go. I just let him go, and I kept visualizing, but not him. I was so convinced at that moment that the universe was listening to me.
Mm.
Um, that it was just guiding me and telling me it's not him. And that's what I sort of said, like, okay, like the quicker I can like get him out of my system, get him out of the way, then the quicker the person that I'm supposed to manifest will come.
Right.
And so that's when I just and the whole point of this was talking about how you want to be clear. Well, I was very clear about the fact that I would meet this person, on the beach. I had blurred out the person's face, and I
Mhm.
just went into visualization every day, and I just would get really happy, and I would just continue this relationship with this, imaginary man who would, come into my life. And well, to make a long story short, we ended up getting engaged 2 months later, 3 months later in May of 2007, and then we got married in 2008, and we'll be celebrating our 14-year wedding anniversary coming up
Yay.
in May. So this stuff works. All I want, I just, it's about, really that step 2, what does that scene look like with you and achieving it? And for me, it, just looked like being on the beach, having, and same thing when I manifested my house, it's like going through and looking at every very specific thing and going through and what are some of the important features of that house. And so that was number 2. Number 3 is, imagining what does the scene actually sound like, because
Mm.
we visualize in different senses. Visualizing isn't just about, it's not just about seeing, some people don't even really see that crystal clear of image. And so for those people out there, there's hope. There is hope for you too, because you can visualize in all of your senses. And so, so I like to actually invite all, well, there's 5 senses or even 6, or some people say many more than that. But I bring in 3, senses. So step 3 would be, what does the scene sound like? So you want to bring in any kind of sounds that might be going on. For me, like at that beach scene, obviously was the sound of the waves. It was the sound of this person saying, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. It might be the sound of you saying something, like when I think about my developer giving me the first iteration of the design of how we're going to be redesigning this new app, I think about my own self saying like, oh, I love it.
Mm.
I love it. This is so good. This is so much better than
Yeah.
I even imagined. Hear yourself talking in that scene. Hear what other people are saying, in that scene. Hear the nature, whatever it is, so
Mhm.
really allowing yourself to get immersed in what it sounds like. What do you think about that?
Well, I see one problem right away is I don't do any sound. I didn't even think about it. I'm not very auditory,
Hmm.
and I've not included sound at all. So that's good
Yeah.
to maybe incorporate that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, and seeing, so maybe you're more, most people are, I mean, I don't want to say most, the majority of people visualize in through visualization. What is it like? I think it's like 50. Do you know the numbers on that? I think it's like, it's somewhere in the 50, it's over 50% of people are visual, I believe.
There's I've seen a couple of different things, and it could be as high as 70% that are
Okay.
visual.
Wow.
Or is it? No, wait. You know what? Maybe that's 70% is feeling.
Hmm.
I'm mixed up now. I can't remember, but it is. I know. I think what you said is right. That most people are visual.
Yeah,
At
most
least, and
people
I
are.
think it can. I think it can vary among cultures too.
That, that may well be, and that could also translate to language,
Hmm,
because
very much. Yeah.
people, and you're NLP guy too,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's ways that you speak that going both ways, that can create you to be more visual, but that you can pick up on that, if somebody is a visual person, you can pick up on their language, if they're saying things like, you see what I mean, or just look at that, if they use these visual words versus more auditory words. And so, but anyway, the point was, you're more visual, and so you rely more on your visual sense.
Yeah.
Do you think it
Absolutely.
would help? Do you think it would help to incorporate more senses?
Sure. The more, the better. I mean, it's funny. Like it was just a blind area for me, using another visual word, but I mean, it was an area where I mean, it never even occurred to me to integrate sound.
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah.
some feeling, some feeling stuff, but physical and emotional. But yeah, the sound didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah. Well, and that was going to be my step 4 was what does it feel like? Was,
Yeah.
really, because I think, and tell me if you agree. I think that feeling is how we really speak to the subconscious mind. I mean, we speak to the subconscious mind with all of our senses, but I think the feeling, like if you can get yourself to experience the emotion, to me, that's more convincing than anything else.
Well, you know what I'll say too is that, well, and it's the weird thing too, Victoria, is that like when I'm working with clients, I'm very, tuned in to the fact that I need to use all the senses and the
That's an
language that I use
auditory
with them.
word.
Right. So I'm very tuned into it, but for myself, completely blind to it. What I'll tell you about the emotional part for me is I had this realization because I've got this one image that I can play and it's like there. There's no sound, of course, but there's lots of visual there. But when I get the feeling, I sort of think, I don't even need to achieve this because I've already got the feeling of it. Why do I even? It's a kind of a weird feeling. It kind of blows my mind. I'm like, no, but you still want it, but I don't even need to. And if I could just hold on to that feeling, I definitely wouldn't need it.
You know what? You bring up a really, really great point on that, because that's the thing. The reason why we want anything ultimately is because we think that it's going to make us feel
Right.
that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like how are you going to
So true.
feel? How are you going to feel when you hit your goal of, um, moving to a
Oh.
warm environment?
Hmm. Really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's a really, really great point to mention, is why we want, and so you can actually make yourself feel that way now. And but so many people have it kind of reversed. It's like, well, I'm going to hold myself back from feeling that until I
Mm.
actually have it,
Yeah.
and that's one of the biggest blocks to being able to get that into the subconscious mind. Because to me, like when it comes to manifesting, honestly, and I've been a hypnotist since 99, and studying these principles since even before I became a hypnotist. So for me, I came in using hypnosis as a way to manifest. Like that was always like, I always thought of it maybe a little bit different than some more traditional, hypnotherapists out there. I just kind of came to it already knowing like, well, it's about, you know, I mean, using this law of attraction stuff is about changing your subconscious mind and getting you to experience before the thing happens, to get your subconscious mind in agreement with, yes, yes, this is happening. And so to me, it's all of that's what hypnosis is for, is to make to make these things manifest. And it's all, so this is all just about, this visualization stuff that people do. It's all about getting into the subconscious mind. And but it doesn't always work for some people. And why do you think it doesn't work for those people?
Um, are you talking hypnotherapy or manifesting? What,
The
both?
manifesting,
Manifesting.
visualizing to manifest.
Well, I think probably they're probably missing some of the components, like I was. I mean, sound didn't occur to me. No. And
Mhm.
really feeling too. I had to really work at the feeling part.
Yeah.
I mean, I even had to work at the vision part too, and I'm very visual, but still kind of getting that image. And it took time. I mean, really, it's taken me a lot of time to kind of get there with that. I also think, and we've talked about this before, I think that sometimes, because I remember two specific people, and they were both hypnotists. Both of them talked about how they meditated and visualized all the time, but they didn't get what they wanted. And neither one of them were taking any action towards those things they wanted. So I think that's a missing component personally.
It really is. I mean, and like the visualizing, you know, it doesn't replace action. To me, it aids in a person getting to the place where they're going to take that action. Just like think of it like as an athlete. I mean, the
Mhm.
athlete visualizes themselves being able to cross that finish line. And like I've used it many times in doing marathons. During my marathon training, I would just visualize myself at the end,
Mm,
like just as wherever I am right now. I might be still 10 miles away from wherever I need to
mhm,
go that day. But I just visualize myself at the end. I would also use a little bit of sound visualization as well. I would actually imagine like I'd be running down the sidewalk and there'd be trees on either or both sides of me. And I would imagine that and it's kind of silly, but I would imagine that those
mhm.
trees are people. And I'm
Oh,
kind of running through this corridor of people who are like,
they're cheering.
yay,
Those trees are cheering.
go, Victoria. They're like my cheerleaders.
I love that.
It was a great visualization. And it just, really pumped me full of energy. And then I would say the words in my mind, I am energy, not like I have energy, but I am energy. And because that would just, and doing that like preemptively before I would get to the point, like when you're already starting to go down the road of feeling tired, then it's like a little too late. um so you want to do that to keep yourself energized, keep that, keep your mind going on target. Because like by the time, then that's one of the things too, is you have to be careful about where you allow your thoughts to go. It's your thoughts can be very vulnerable. They're subject to change at any moment. You could get a negative thought, and then you start going down that road and just allowing that negative thought to eat away at your happiness. And before you know it, like 5 minutes later, you could be like, oh, I'm so bummed.
Right.
My life sucks. Then you got to get Jim's book.
That's right. Exactly. It's kind of like it kind of reminds me of like you're overindulging, just like you would like if you're eating cake or something. You're just kind of smearing that cake around and eating it and just and because you're just wallowing in your self-pity and your sadness or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, yeah, you can't allow yourself. And that's why you want to have the whole purpose of having this visualization already created for you, these 5 steps, which I'm going to get to the 5th step here. But these 5 steps, having them already ready for you. You want to create this so that you have a place that you can go anytime
Mm.
you find yourself in that, almost getting into that stuck state. It's like, what do I want? Like what am
Mm.
I thinking
Wow.
right now, and what do I want instead? And then, because that, like, if visualization really works, then whatever it is that you're telling yourself or letting yourself think about, or all the negative things that are going on there, you're visualizing what you don't want. And that works just as well. As a matter of fact, sometimes it works
It does, right?
too well, because you've got the real emotion behind it. And
Yeah.
and it's that emotion that's like really pulling you toward the result. So which emotion do you want? It's got it. This takes practice. It's not just like, oh, okay, I visualized it once and then we're done. it's a
Yeah.
it's a daily practice, and it's a daily practice that's going to help you to do number of things. It's going to help it to seep into your subconscious mind so that you can actually believe it, and you're retraining and rewiring your thoughts. And number 2, it's there to kind of pull you out of that deep, dark, desperate, depressed, all the bad D words place. But it's also there to guide you toward, taking that inspired action, because the more you visualize yourself doing something, the more likely you are to actually take the steps that are needed to do that. So the fifth step is, once you have created, now you've created what your visualization is going to be. It's what does it look like, what does it sound like, what does it feel like, and then now you want to run this like a movie. So what happens with you leading up to the scene? It's like, as you're about to cross that finish line, what is it that you're actually doing? What are those actions that you're
Mm,
taking? Think about what are those final action steps, that you're going to be taking, but then being in that moment, because that moment is it's just a flash. When you've manifested, it's just a second. There's the anticipation and the excitement that's leading up to it. So it's like going on a vacation. It's like, at what point are you actually on that vacation?
wow,
You
yeah.
know, like, you're going there, but then, there's just those few moments where you're like in the process of that manifestation. So after you're done with the vacation, or after you're done with the manifestation, then what? What's now possible? Where are you now that you have manifested this? So being in that afterward scene is also really crucial, because it's really easy just to kind of get stuck on that. Okay, now, it's like you have this thing, but it's like, maybe after you've had your car for a while, it's like you no longer have the gratitude for it. You're no longer celebrating it. You're no longer appreciative of it. And then, you just kind of like, oh, what's next? And so you do want to kind of put yourself in a place where, like, well, now I'm in that moment where everything has manifested, and what is now possible that I've manifested this.
Oh, wow, that's kind of eye-opening. I hadn't, like I have some very specific like movie reels for these certain things, but yeah, the lead up and the exit part, or the out coming out of it, I don't really have a good clear picture of, or clear sounds or feeling.
Oh, well, I just taught you something.
Yeah, yeah,
The hypnotist teaching the hypnotist.
right. I
I
love it.
love it. I love it.
Yeah. Even though I reckon it's funny because I recognize the need to take that inspired action, but I don't include that action in my visual or my imagination part, the imagining part. So,
Yeah. And it just makes it so much easier, because, as you know, as I'm sure you've said 1,000 times, um, subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's
yeah.
imagined. So it's so much more likely that you're going to take those actions if you've already been there in your imagination many, many, many times. It'll just kind of seem like, if you're a guy and, you're having a hard time asking the gal out, or whatever it is, if you're or if you're the person that's, needing to ask your boss for a raise, or you're needing to get yourself out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and go for that run. If you see yourself doing that enough times, you're going to be taking action on that.
Well, it's interesting. I have been doing that part, although I guess that's attached to my bigger goals too. But I had this idea because the mind doesn't know the difference between that. And I thought it's easy, once you build the habit, it's easier to continue. So what I did is I just thought, I said, what if I just each night I had a full memory of me getting up and doing push-ups every morning?
Ooh.
Because that was one of my goals. I really wanted to do it, 3 times a week, get up in the morning. And I was, as I go to bed, I'm thinking, I was so great to get up and do those push-ups this morning, even though I hadn't done a single push-up in years, right?
Yeah.
And it was like I was building that habit through my imagination. And what do you know? Within like a week or two, I was getting up going, let's do those push-ups. And I've been doing them now for a month.
Awesome. So you are a true testament to the fact that what I just said is absolutely true and it works.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be what you know, like the really interesting thing was that realization that I could just imagine that I had this habit. And so if I had that, my brain doesn't know that it's not that I didn't really do it, right? It's kind of like, oh, you get up and do push-ups, of course. So you have to do it tomorrow too, because you did it yesterday, whatever. Weird.
That's very clever. So Matt, putting yourself in a state where this is already a habit for you.
Yeah,
Like that's just not something that you're going to start doing, but it's just a habit that you've been doing already.
yeah, exactly. That worked for me.
That is amazing. And so how many push-ups are you doing?
I'm up to 7.
Up to 7. Yeah. They're hard. I keep having a little false start with doing push-ups because
Mm.
I've just kind of noticed since I haven't been I run, walk, hike, do all of the cardio stuff, but honestly, I haven't been doing a lot of weight training. So I
Mm.
thought, well, at least maybe I can do some push-ups. I can do some, lunges. I can do some squats and what do you call those, planks. I love
Mhm.
those planks. And and so I haven't incorporated that, but I haven't even like thought about doing visualization to help make that a reality. So that was a good tip for me, to actually like see those arms looking the way that I want them to
Mhm.
look. And because that's like been one of my little complaints about my body is my arms just aren't as firm as I'd like them to be. So gotta take my own
Right,
advice,
yeah. It's
take
funny how
your
we forget these
advice,
things, huh?
get
Yeah.
that thing going. Well, awesome. This was just another incredible conversation today about the power of the mind and using visualization. I hope these 5 steps, and the way that we've explained them are going to really help you. Just summarize, it's, step 1 is to get really clear on a specific idea. Step 2 is to figure out what does that scene look like with you achieving it. Step 3 is what does the scene sound like? Step 4 is what does it feel like? And step 5, run it like a movie. What happens leading up to the scene and what happens after the scene and what's possible now? What's next?
Great. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was. It was. Well, I look forward to doing this again with you next week when we're going to be talking about affirmations and why affirmations can actually be helpful and why they can also work against you. So let's, stay tuned for that. And definitely be sure to leave us a review. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. Definitely going to want to tune in next week just because it's episode number 200. And
Wow.
that's pretty cool. And subscribe to our my podcast. Definitely download my HypnoCloud app for the 12 amazing sessions that you're going to get for free on there. And go check out my Law of Attraction Intensive at lawofattractionintensive.com. And I look forward to seeing you there, and I look forward to seeing you next time.